What's up, another quick episode. Today we're going to do two sections, so to the right. Okay, so now we know our individual elements are constructed. But how do we determine where they go on the page? One way is to use floats. When you float an element on the page, you're telling the web page, I'm about to tell you where to put this element, but you have to put it into the flow of other elements. This means if you have several elements all floating, they all know that the others are there and don't land on top of each other. If you can think of HTML page as sort of like a sea, and floating elements has boats on it, all the boats are positioned on the sea, and they all see and steer clear of each other. Some of the positioning methods we'll learn in upcoming sections can accidentally drop elements on top of each other. Instructions. Okay, so if I reset code, it's on the left as default, but if I undo that, yeah, it goes like that. Float right. Start next lesson. To the left. Good. As you saw, your div moved. So if I make that left, yeah, that's what pops up. Float for 2. As you might have already guessed, we could use floated elements to naturally divide our page into sections. Let's try it. So the div, we're supposed to float it into the right, but the p we have to do left. Save and my code there. Clearing elements. Unfortunately, we sometimes mix large floating elements with non-floating ones, and elements do end up on top of each other. See your footer, the blue bit between the two columns. Wait. No. See the blue bit between stuck between the two columns. It's stuck back there because we haven't told it something very important: to clear the other elements on the page. If you tell an element to clear left, it will immediately move any floating elements on the left side of the page. It can also clear elements on the right. If you tell it to clear both, it will get out of the way of elements floating on the left and right. Okay, so yeah, if we do that, yeah, it's cleared. Save some code. Okay, now, stack by default. Great work so far. Now that you understand positioning elements with flow, let's move on to slightly more complex positioning methods. If you don't specify an element's positioning type, it defaults to static. This just means where the element would normally go. If you don't tell an element how to position itself, it just plunks itself down in the document. Check out the divs in the editor. Okay. Save some code when you're ready to begin. Absolute positioning. The first type of positioning is absolute positioning. When an element is set to position absolute, it's then positioned in relation to the first parent's element. It has that doesn't have position static. If there's no such element, the element with position absolute gets positioned relative to HTML. To show how this works, we've set the outer div to have absolute positioning. This means that when you position the inner div, it will be relative to outer. If outer had the default positioning of static, then inner would get positioned relative to the entire HTML document. Try it out. Set inner's position to absolute and give it a margin left at 20 pixels. So, wait, the inner. So, undo. Yeah, that happens. And the position is absolute. But if we make this static, let's see what happens. Nothing really happens. Absolute. Relative positioning. Good. Did you notice how inner div moved 20 pixels and from the edge of the outer div? That's absolute positioning at work. Relative positioning is more straightforward. It tells the relative positioning is more straightforward. It tells that element to move relative to where it would have been landed if it just had the default static positioning. If you give an element relative position and tell it to have a margin top 10 pixels, it doesn't move down 10 pixels from any particular thing. It moves down 10 pixels from where otherwise would have been. Then we'll try to change inner's position to relative and give it a margin left at 200 pixels. So yeah, that works. Sequence my code, start boxes. Fixed positioning. Perfect. See, the positioning stuff's not so hard. Finally, fixed positioning anchors an element to the browser window. You can think of it as gluing the element to the screen. If you scroll up and down, the fixed element stays put even as other elements scroll past. Instructions. Set. Okay, that's what I did. You're supposed to set it to fixed, then scroll up and down a bit. It stays put even as outer moves out of the frame. So we do that. Full screen. It just stays there. Let's see the code. Okay, so that's it for this episode. Please subscribe, please like. Thank you so much for watching this video, and bye bye.